There are so many bag making techniques and tips in this video, I can't even count them, really. I may have a problem. Hi friends, Tracy here from the Sewing Channel. I no longer have a problem because now I have the perfect on-the-go cargo bag. Now I don't have the straps on all these yet, but you better believe I'm gonna make some. See here, I've designed a 3D pocket to go with this multifunctional purse. Not only does it have a 3D cargo pocket, it also has a phone slit, right? That was one of the main features of this bag that I wanted to make sure was in there. Now, not only does it have that, not only does it have the cargo pocket, it also has 2 zip pockets. These 2 stay close to your body. I figure money in this one and any other little thing, coupons or whatever in this one. But I wanted 2 to separate out the things that I had for my purse. Now friends, this one took me weeks to draft and design. I've left nothing out of this bag. In the info box below, you can find the link to this full color pattern. I have 90 or so color photos teaching you how to make this bag. Now, not only do I have, the full pattern, I have filmed and recorded the entire tutorial for the on-the-go cargo bag. There are so many bag making techniques and tips in this video, I can't even count them, really. I've made this pattern so that even my very beginner bag makers can succeed with this bag. It's a long one, I know, but it's worth the watch. Enough talking already. Let's get busy making the on-the-go cargo bag. Here's an overall visual of all of the pattern pieces and the pieces already cut out, and the ones that were supposed to have the fusibles on them have the fusibles on them. The only one that I'm not showing right here is the cargo pocket placement template. This one doesn't need any fabric with it. This is the template that I provide within the pattern so that your cargo pocket sits perfectly on top of your bag. So on all of the pockets, there's always one that has fusible on it and one that does not. The one that does not have the fusible interfacing on the back, like this one right here, does not have the fusible interfacing, is because this is the one that we turn inside out, so to speak, and where we do a lot of intricate corners and whatnot. It works a lot better if you don't have the fusible on that side. But the other side of the pocket does have the fusible. So if that confuses you, hopefully that clears that up. Now pattern F and G are both of the phone slit pocket. One is longer than the other one because this one we are going to be folding the slit in, making the welt pocket, and that will shrink up that fabric, so to speak. By the time we fold our fabric and make it peek through there and make that little slit pocket, it will be the same size as this one. That explains why one half of the pocket is longer than the other one. So this piece right here is the only piece that you'll have to tape together, and it's A and B, they go together. So I left the B paper on the end there from where it printed, and then I just cut the A piece, slid it right onto that dotted line there, and then that makes that pattern piece. The next thing you need to do is grab pattern F, I, and H, and you're going to mark the rectangular boxes on the non-interfaced piece. So this piece is interfaced, so I'm gonna set that one aside, and this is H, and it even tells you right here on the pattern piece, you need 1 fusible woven interfacing. Interface the piece that will not have the zip attached to it. So, which is the one that has no interfacing. What you're going to do to transfer this box onto here is fold right here at that top line on this paper, just like that. Then you're going to lay your pattern piece down, line it up with the bottom curves there, center it, and take your erasable marking tool and start right here where the line is and just mark it all the way down until you get to there. Now each box is a 1/2 inch, so all you're going to do for that is grab your ruler, find your 1/2 inch mark on your ruler, line it up. Remember, you only made that first line coming from the top of the pocket down. and mark it this way, and then use your ruler, mark it that way, the sides, and then come in a 1/2 inch and make a mark down the center. And for these little arrow marks, these are a 1/4 inch from the edge. So you're going to come up a 1/4 inch, make a dot, and then just turn your ruler and make your slants just like that. And you're going to do that on all 4 corners and all 3 of these pockets that are not interfaced. After you have all the marks on those 3 non-interfaced sides of the pockets, then you're going to grab C and D pattern pieces. This is the flap of the top of the cargo pocket right here. You can either put a Velcro closure that you need to sew on, or I've provided a red dot right there to transfer the marks for a magnetic snap or any kind of snap that you prefer to use. And what you're going to do is transfer one of those 2 marks onto your inside flap. So it would be the lining side. This part is not going to be seen from the outside of the bag. So this is the inner lining of the flap. So after it would be all sewn together, it would lift like that, and your closure would be on the inside connected to the outer side of the cargo pocket. I've provided both marks right there just so you can get a visual of what I was talking about, but you only choose one of those marks. You're also going to transfer those marks onto the front of the cargo pocket, so it's going to be the exterior that you transfer either the Velcro or the red dot to. For today's purse project, you are going to need to attach your zipper foot onto your sewing machine. I did leave my zipper foot on the entire project, and you can too. That is if you feel comfortable doing so. If not, just interchange them and switch it out when needed. For our cargo pocket purse bag, we need to sew a 3/8 inch seam allowance. Can you see a 3/8 inch seam allowance mark anywhere on my sewing machine? I know. I don't see one either. So we have to account for this. So what we need to do is figure out where that needle drops down right here and over where our 3/8 inch seam allowance is. My needle is in the down position and I'm looking on top through here, through this area, and I'm seeing right where my needle drops at. On your ruler, wherever your inch starts, like right here it says 1, you're not going to count this, you're going to count the next line. 1, 2, 3. So this line right here on my ruler indicates the 3/8 inch mark over from where my needle drops down into my fabric. It's just in front of this line right here, which is marked 10. Knowing that my 3/8 is just before that 10, I'm going to take just a regular sticky note, line the edge of this sticky part up right where that line is, and then I'm going to just come forward a little bit there and then lay my paper down. Now I'm going to test it again. Push my ruler right up against where my needle is. I'm looking down through here. I can see where that black line is, and I'm lining it right center on that black line. I'm actually a little too much toward the needle, so I'm going to pull my ruler out and I'm going to just ever so slightly lift and try again. I'm going to keep doing this until I get it right. I'm push on my needle just a little bit so you can see I'm right where that black line is. You look right here at the 3/8 on my ruler, and down here that paper is nicely right where those lines are. So that tells me that I am now at a 3/8 inch seam allowance mark. So I'm going to pull my ruler out. So I've just taken some painter's tape and lined up perfectly along the edge there and stacked about 4 of them together. Now I'm going to take that straight edge and I'm going to line it up right with the edge of that Post-it note. The reason why I layered up the painter's tape is because right here, it gives me a nice little ledge not to go over. So if I count over 1, 2, 3, it's right there. So we have successfully made our 3/8 inch ledge right there. Now we're going to prep our fabric tabs that go with our D-rings. Take your fabric that you've chosen and make sure that it's interfaced. And then what you're going to do is fold it longwise. Give it a hot press, open it back up, and then you're going to go about 1/8 of an inch fold over. and give it a good hot press. Flip it around and fold over another 1/8 of an inch on the other side and give it a hot press. Take these 1/8 of an inch pieces, make sure that they're tucked in there nice, and then give it an overall hot press. I'm going to take this over to the sewing machine and I'm going to top stitch down one side close to the edge right here and close to the edge on the other side, giving it a really nice finished look. But before I do that, I want to choose which side that I want to top stitch on, because that's the side that will be shown visually on the outside to people and to you. So I'm first going to fold it like this and see, there's not really anything on that side that looks good. That one's kind of pretty with that little part of the flower with the pink peeking through. But then I'm also going to flip it like this and try it the other way. That will be what's showing, and that'll be what's showing. So I'm thinking I prefer that right there. That little bit will be peeking out. Oops, I should turn it this way. That little part will be peeking out from the purse. So I'm going to choose to top stitch down this side and down this side. Flip it around and then come on the other side. You can see here too, I chose a smaller stitch. It's at about a 2 millimeter. Then I'm simply going to just take my D-ring and slip it on, match these up, and then just come in, just to tack it all together at about a 3/8 or so I'll go. This right here will mostly be trimmed off as we're making the bag and in the end result. So just tack it down for now. So here are our 2 fabric tab D-rings all set to go. Now just set these aside. Now you're going to grab both of pattern piece E, the 2 long pieces that you cut on the fold. Make sure your fusible interfacing is about 3/8 inch away from the edge, or a little more depending. I'm a little bit farther back there, but that's okay. That will help mitigate any bulk. Take both pieces of E, the lining and the outside cargo pocket gusset, and line them up right sides together and pop some clips all along that edge. Once you have right sides together of pattern piece E and all of your clips are in, then you're going to run it through your sewing machine at a 3/8 inch seam allowance. Be sure to backstitch. I'm going to put my stitch length at about 2.5 or just under. Just feed it through and follow the tape there that you laid down on your sewing machine as a guide. Remember, you're never looking at the needle, you're always looking right here to make sure you're feeding it in properly. Now you're going to open up that long piece and you are going to press toward the lining side. So this is the lining side. My seam allowance is going to go this way. Flip it over. Now you're going to pinch this like so. You're going to leave about an 1/8 inch or a little less peeking out over top of that lining. So it'll look something like this. That's why it's important that we fold and press to the lining side. So once you peek that out a little bit, just like so, you're going to take your hot iron and then run that right over it. So I'm pushing that so that piece is peeking out. Then I'm going to flip it this way. So this is what it should look like. So with that 1/8 of an inch peeking up, when you turn it around, then you will have this amount sticking out, which is approximately about 1/4 inch sticking out. If you see that, you totally did it right. Now what I'm going to do is come in on the ends, open it back up, and you'll see this flap there. Remember, it's folded toward the lining. Fold back those pieces so you don't catch them with the scissors. And then you're just going to get close to the stitch line, but not too close. Angle up toward the raw edges and snip. That's going to take out bulk along the edge there. And you're going to do that on both sides. Just come in at an angle. It's okay, it doesn't matter really how far you go. Now you're going to take this edge while it's open and it's lying toward the lining piece. You're going to fold it up 3/8 of an inch and press. You can check it with your ruler if you like. And give that a press. Flip it back over so that that piece is still sticking out right there, and give that a press. And that's what you should have. Now we're going to come on over here to this one, open it up, and the way I have it laying, it's folded this way, the lining side's over here. Then with that folded down, you're going to fold this up 3/8 of an inch. Once you have that pressed, you're going to flip it back so that it's back where it was with that piece sticking out. And press it. Now take your clips and clip the ends. Clip all along this edge here, the raw edge. Now that this is all clipped along the raw edge, these are folded in, now it's time to come along here. You're going to put this underneath your needle, and as close as you can to the edge there, you're going to sew down. When you come to that first raw edge, this one right here, right there, you are going to stop, pivot your piece, this piece right here, and start sewing all along the raw edge on this raw edge, the one that's shorter in, and sew all the way down until you get to this end, and staying close to the edge, you're going to sew up to get to that corner point and then stop. Be sure to backstitch. Lift up your presser foot and pivot, and then now follow right along this edge right here. It's probably less than 1/8 of an inch in that I'm sewing. It's helpful too to have a tool like these little needle nose tweezers, and I'm going to simply just take this fabric and push that so that everything stays nice and neat. Our sewing machine actually pulls from the bottom feed dogs, so this it's pulling along nicely, but that top portion it does not. So we need to kind of be the feed dogs on the top. That's a lot of times why things get distorted, I think. A lot don't realize that, you know, this needs to be pushed as well. That's called easing in the fabric. When you get to the very end, a little less than 1/8 an inch again, pivot and sew. be sure to backstitch. So this is what that sewn piece looks like. See that raw edge sticking out? That's all nicely done. And we have that 1/8 of an inch of that exterior sticking out. The next step is to cut and follow along this raw edge right here. Where you followed the seam just now that you just sewed, you're going to cut up to that fabric. So you're going to cut right up to the exterior fabric, cutting all this off. You can use bigger scissors than this too. I just grabbed these because these were right here. And there is the gusset piece all done. In this next step, you're going to make sure that you take that gusset that you just made, fold it in half, like so, and find the center, the midpoint, and go ahead and put a mark there. Now you're going to grab your exterior cargo pocket pattern C. What I did was fold this in half and just snip a little piece out of there to find the middle. A lot of times with these patterns, I like to snip it after I've already fused the interfacing on, because sometimes you can get like a twisting of the fabric and whatnot, and it just helps me not to get things skewed in the end. You may want to do the same thing. It's up to you. I do have midpoints on all of the pattern pieces, but like I said, a lot of times they get skewed once you start to add interfacing on them and whatnot if you didn't cut them together as one piece. So take and put right sides together of the exterior fabric, connecting the midpoints right along the edge there. So if I lift that up, that's what that is. It's right sides together. Then you're going to just pop a clip right there in that midpoint. Next, you're going to take your ruler and find the 3/8 inch mark on it. Lay it down on the top side here and measure 3/8 of an inch from this top down the side, and then mark. And then you're going to do the same thing over here. Measure 3/8 inch down and then mark right there. I'm going to put another clip here on the ends. Next, take this gusset piece, the end that's finished off, and you're going to just flip it up this way, kind of twist it, and this edge right here of the gusset, you're going to place it right on that red mark that I just made, or that you'll make. And then you want to line the raw edges up here. Then you'll take the other side and just flip it up here, still staying right sides together. Find that mark you made and align raw edges together and clip. So I don't have to mess with all these clips everywhere. I am going to stay stitch this midpoint here, and I'm going to stay stitch up here about 1/2 inch or so. And then I'm going to come back over here and start to sew all the way around. Let's go to the sewing machine so I can show you what I'm talking about. So here I'm going to bring this over and pop these clips out here. Make sure that I'm still center. And I am going to put my stay stitches right at the 3/8 mark. So I'm going to go forward, and then I'm going to back it up. I guess that's about 1 inch or so. Now that is secure, and I won't have to mess with any clips down. Since I'm going to be starting to sew here, that's why I go ahead and stay stitch this side. Go up to that 3/8 inch mark that we made earlier. Make sure that you know, that line I made is nice and flush there with the edge of the fabric. Be sure to backstitch. Now these are nice and stay stitched, and I won't have to fuss with, you know, trying to keep that all together. Try not to go over this edge like I did. I went a stitch over. You probably don't want to do that. So that's going to get folded over later, but okay. Take this clip out and make sure it's aligned properly. And then come over here and start at 3/8 inch. Now you can see here that as I push this, you know, that's going to pull the other side. So we want to make sure that this has some give in it. So from about here to here, I'm going to put about 6 tiny snips in there at about 1/4 inch. And it's okay if I snip into that seam that I made earlier, because that, you know, that's not going to bother anything. Because remember, we're doing a 3/8 seam allowance, so a 1/4 inch snip into this isn't going to hurt it. I still keep my needle and everything in my sewing machine, and I just, when I figure out where that curve is going to be at, then I'll just grab it and make some snips. And I need some new snips, so you know what, let's see. These snips will work better. So here I'm just making just a few snips in here. So here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 little snips. So let's see what that does for us. So if I pull this now over here, that is going to now make the cut all the way around that curve. So let's continue sewing. Use your tweezers and grab the gusset, pulling it toward the raw edge of the pocket. Take your time. It'll be worth it in the end. When you get to this point right here, you can really tell how that's going to land in that midpoint. If you pull it a little bit, you can see that that still pulls up. So that tells me that I need to pull this gusset just a little bit more. And it will, it has a little bit of give in it, so it'll pull. Make sure that you don't have any bumps that you're gonna roll over here. Just kind of flatten that out with your other hand. Make a couple stitches and then readjust. It really doesn't take that long either to just readjust this. It's just so awesome. Okay, so we're coming up to the stay stitches that we made in the midpoint there. And if you still feel like you have a little bit of slack there or something, just pull it kind of towards you, kind of this way with your fingers, and then just continue to sew. Now we're coming up to the other corner. So remember what we did last time. Hold this one here and then kind of pull out just to see where that is going to be, that curve, and lift it up. And then you'll just put some snips just like we did on the other one. Do you remember what I told you earlier about the top piece not being pulled in, that we need to be the feed dogs for that? It's the same thing when you're doing this piece. So you can see right here, like if let me lift that up. So you can see there's a little bit of gap in here still, like I have more to give there. So I'm going to be easing that in slowly and it'll all go, trust me. It'll all go in there and there'll be no puckers. So what I'm going to do is take my tweezers here and I'm just going to kind of pet that this way. I don't know what else to call it, but yeah, like smoothing it toward the needle. Now I'm going to take a few stitches and then I'm going to smooth again. And I'm going to keep doing that until I get all the way to the end. Wanted to show you that, how I was doing all that smoothing, and there's literally no puckers in that. Let's take a look right here. You see that? No puckering. I mean, it's really a nice technique. I give you two options in the pattern. You can either do the 4-inch Velcro closure, which is just 2 strips that simply just, you know, stick together, and you would sew these on. So if I was going to use the Velcro, I would take and just lay one of the sides down onto this rectangle I marked and transferred earlier. Then I would just sew just inside of the edge of the Velcro and go all the way around, securing it. I would go a couple times probably, and then I would do like just a secure stitch right here in the center. That just ensures that, you know, that it won't, you know, come off anytime soon. I put the closures on before I finish the pocket, which is just adding the lining on next. For this particular bag, I've chosen to put the magnetic snaps in. So let me show you how to do that. The magnetic piece comes with a female, a male, and then 2 of these washers that go onto the back to help secure that into the bag. Going to want to use the female part of this set on the pocket. The male part of this set you'll want to save when we do the flap. So I'm going to take the female set with the washer and I'm just going to set it aside until we get to that part. So now we just have these 2 pieces right here. I'm going to find that dot right there in the center. That's what I transferred earlier from the pattern piece. I'm going to put the washer right over top of that dot. Right there it's right in the center, right there. Then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to mark those two slotted marks that are on the washer. So you're just going to pinch this fabric, and you don't want to make deep cuts at all, no. But what you do want to do is just come in with your snips and just barely snip that. Snip just on the slotted marks that you made, those straight lines. So you should have like a little hole there and a little hole right here. Now you're going to take the female end of the magnetic set and just stick it right in those slots. And all this marking that you see right here, that's all going to go away when I turn my iron on. It's heat erasable, so that's good. Now we're just going to flip this over. I'm going to take like a piece of fusible fleece, and I've already snipped some, slotted marks in that, and I'm going to put it just like that. This side right here of this fusible interfacing is like a gluey side, so when I do get it together with my lining, when I go to press, that will kind of adhere to that area. Not kind of, it will. The next step is to take your washer and set it right on top of that right there. Usually, though, there is a smooth side and a rough side. This is the smoother side. That's the side that I put toward the outside. You can even put another piece there if you like, and I think we will. We'll just go in with just another little piece of fusible interfacing. Make a couple snips like that. Take a screwdriver. This is, goes to my Juki machine, but I'm going to use it. And you just press those prongs back. And you can even take it and just kind of press it so it's butterflied out. And now if I flip it this way, there is my magnetic snap, nice and in there. Now you're going to take the lining cargo pocket and the exterior cargo pocket, and you're going to fold up 3/8 of an inch hem. First, you're going to have to fold those in and kind of squish those toward the center like that. Turn it like this, and then I've already pressed it there, but you're going to fold over 3/8 of an inch, and you're going to press all along here. You're going to take the lining piece here, and you're going to fold that down and press 3/8 of an inch as well. Now take your lining pocket and kind of flatten it out there on your table so that it is right side up. Then you're going to take your cargo pocket piece here, the one with the gusset on it, and you're going to kind of squish, all these in the corners so that everything is kind of mashed up toward the center here. You're going to then take it and flip it right side down to the lining. I have some jumbo wonder clips here that actually do work wonders on a project just like this. So why that's the case is it's so long in here that it just kind of grabs everything within here and keeps it together all the way around. So what you're going to do here is line up on both sides, the top here, right where that meets. Now we're going to lift these up out of the way, the ones that we pressed at 3/8 inch there. Lift those up and out of the way and put one of your wonder clips right there. Then you're going to come over here and you're going to do the same thing on this side. Being sure that these are up and out of the way. You can clip these up like this so that they are out of the way too. That'll probably help. Once you have these two top ones clipped, then you're going to come over here and find the center. And here you can see I've clipped my center on the lining piece, and then there's my mark on the gusset. I'm going to make sure that those definitely line up first, and then I'm going to clip The reason why we have it laying this way is because that stitch line is visible from where we connected the gusset to the exterior. That's the line that we're going to follow all the way around. So that's why this piece definitely needs to be wrong side up. Mash those down in there so that they are away from the curved seam allowance, and then pop a clip in. Come over here and do the same thing on that curve. Next, we're going to take it over to the sewing machine. You're not going to sew on that hemmed piece just yet. You're going to start just below it where we started sewing on the exterior piece. You're going to start there and go all the way around. You're not going to sew the top piece just yet though. And lift your presser foot. Make sure that that seam allowance is out of the way here in the back. Drop your presser foot right after that 3/8 inch from the top. You can drop your needle right there. Unclip. Now we're going to sew directly on this stitch line that we made when we connected the exterior to the gusset. Make sure that you back stitch. I'm not looking at the mark here on my sewing machine. I'm looking at the stitch line. So when we get to here, this part is the part that you need to take your time on. What I do is lift up here and kind of shove that in a little bit more with my needle nose tweezers, and then kind of cup that part, the top piece here, over toward that curve. And then I kind of press that so that I know that there's nothing in there. And then I'm going to continue. Nice and slow. Stop sewing, lift your presser foot and turn. Go nice and slow. Again, lift up, kind of pivot your fabric. And I'm going to undo this right here, and I am going to press that back again just to make sure. And I can take my needle nose tweezers here and kind of pull this back. I can kind of feel something right there, so I'm going to pay attention there. And then I can feel that, yeah, I'm going to clear that. Let's take a peek. Take that and kind of shove that out of the way, and then this cups toward that lining piece. Feel in there. If you feel something, just grab this and, you know, get it out of the way. Lift your presser foot and kind of recheck. This is real time too. I'm showing you this in real time because I want you to realize how doable this is. Now this is very important. Before we move on and clip all of this seam allowance out of here down to 1/4 inch, we need to make sure that we did this correctly. So let's turn this right side out for a minute and push out the corners and make sure that everything is nice and smooth around these corners. Now it's going to be a little bulky in there because we haven't trimmed the seam allowance yet. I want you to check and make sure that you have no puckers all the way around. No puckers. We don't want any puckers. And if there's puckers, don't worry. Just go ahead and unpick it and retry. Now I'm going to turn it wrong side out, and I'm going to clip those seam allowances down to about 1/4 inch. Now you're going to turn it right side out again. Press all of your seam allowances out toward that seam. You want to make sure that that's as smooth as you possibly can get it. Tuck these in and tuck that piece right there so that that hides that seam right over there. And you can clip that and do the same over here. Take your lining and roll that inward, and then this piece right here, you're going to kind of get in that fold position straight out and just go over top of that like that, and then that tucks that down in. You're just going to go right along this area here and just press that. I want you to take note of the lining on the inside. That's what it'll look like on the inside. Now we're going to take it over to the sewing machine. We're going to top stitch all along the 1/8 inch or so away from that edge, or right close to the edge. So we're going to start here, go this way, come around, and then stop there, and make sure that you back stitch. Oop. Come along here, make sure that that's tucked in there good. You may need to ease the fabric if it's stretched at all. Just go slow and push that fabric just like I taught you. When you get to the end there, right before the gusset, you're going to lift up your presser foot and pivot. When you get to the curves here, you may need to pull like from the main part of the pocket and the gusset, kind of pull it away so that opens up this seam so you can get a good top stitch on there. Just follow the curve. Again, take your time. So here is the pocket, and it's all top stitched. And everything is closed up. Let me turn that so you can see that. When I push it in, that's going to be the inside. What you're going to see is the lining. At this time, you need to go ahead and put your closure on your flap here if you didn't do so already. You can see here I've chose the magnetic snap because, you know, that's what I put on the other part of this bag. So that one's all set and in there, and you can see I still have the rectangle mark if I was going to use Velcro. If you're using Velcro, you're going to sew it on just like you did on the other piece. Next, I'm going to take and press a 3/8 inch seam, a hem, over on both the lining and the exterior flap. And you can see that I've already done that. This is a huge tip that I'm about to give you. This is what I do on my bag, so I suggest that you do it too so that you have perfect results. You're going to take the lining piece and you're going to transfer from your ruler a 3/8 inch seam allowance all the way around. Now you want to mark this before you do the pressing because you're going to erase your marks if you wait to press the seam in. Take your ruler and find your 3/8 inch here from the edge over. It's 1, 2, 3. I'm just going to make some slash marks along here, and then I'm going to connect the dots. And then I'm going to come in and I'm just going to connect. This is going to really give me a nice curve. Because it's so hard to make a curve like this on your sewing machine and still keep, you know, your 3/8, it never fails. Mine gets so wonky if I don't do this. Now we're going to put right sides together. Now ultimately you'd have a midpoint here. Just line up your midpoints, which I do not have, so let me find them real quick. And that's my midpoint. Go ahead and line them up and pop a clip. Clip those. Okay, so with that folded in and clipped, we are going to start sewing up here and close this off. So we can go ahead and mark our 3/8 right here so we know where we're starting. Okay, we're all set to take it to the sewing machine. Back stitch. I'm at a 2mm stitch length too, if anybody wonders. Just follow along that line you made. It's fail safe. Lift up and pivot. This is a tight corner, so you just want to go slow. Keep on that line, pivot a little bit. It's just a tiny pivot. Stop, lift, sew, stop, lift, pivot, sew. Too much pivot there. Be sure to backstitch. Now you're going to cut off that seam allowance down to about 1/4 inch. turn it right side out. I grab a tool like this. I call it a pokey tool for lack of a better name. I'm not sure what to call it, but I just go smoothly with this area right here, and I just smooth out along here. So what you're going to do is push this seam so it's nice and rolled out. Once you get it nice and rolled out, you're going to put a hot press in it. Let's go ahead and get rid of that red box. So there's our flap. Now what you're going to do is take it to the sewing machine. You're still not going to close this up yet, this part right here. We need to save this for when we attach this to the front of the main part of the bag. So what you're going to do is take it to your sewing machine, and you're going to sew right along the edge here, about 1/8 of an inch in. And then you're going to come along right next to that, about almost 1/4 inch or so, and you're going to put in a second top stitch line all the way to there, and then stop right there. Remember, don't close that up yet. Be mindful of your snap there too. You don't want to sew on top of that. There's one stitch line. So let's just double check here. So if I put my needle nose right there, I can see exactly where I need to come in at. So it's about right there will be safe for me. So I'm gonna have to come in about only 1/8 inch or so, maybe a fat 1/8. As I'm coming up to that point, I'm just going to be careful. So there is the double stitching. Not too bad. I could have been a little bit more neater with it, I guess, but you know, it is what it is. Not sure if you can see this on camera or not, but I've drawn a line, a U-shaped line right around the AB front. Taken the J template, cut the inside out where the orange was along the black line, and then I've cut on the outer portion of the J template, found the midpoint sections on the template and on the fabric piece, and I've placed them in the middle. I clipped them. I've taken a heat erasable pen and I've marked all along the inside of this U shape. And all you have to do here on the top is just come out about 3/8 of an inch. Just mark the line there, and mark the line there. You don't have to come all the way across. We don't need that line. So you're just lining that up and just, you know, using it as a template for the inside, which gives you that U shape. Along that line is where we are going to attach our 3-dimensional cargo pocket. The first thing though that we are going to do, however, is find the center here, which I've marked from the template. It's the bottom of the U, and I take the center of the pocket bottom and I line those two up right on the line. So those are lined up right there. Then I just pop a clip right there to hold that in place. And then I come over here and I take and I line this edge right here, right on that line that comes out about 3/8 of an inch, and right on the line here. So that right angle there is where that's going to set, just like that. And then I'm going to pop a clip. Now I'm going to come over here to this side, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to find that angle right there and just place that right on the line. So this little 1/8 of an inch ledge that is the exterior that's on the inside here is going to be lined up along that line, and so is this top area. So we're just going to lay that down and pop a clip. Now what we're going to do is stay stitch. Remember how we stay stitched earlier? We're going to do the same thing. We're going to take it to the sewing machine. We're going to stay stitch this area and this area, and then we're going to stop. So just these 2 spots, and then we're going to start sewing. Here's the trick though. You're only going to just catch that little tiny ledge all the way around your pocket. You're not going to come in any amount of distance. You're just going to be catching that ledge at about a 2 millimeter stitch. You want it to be nice and tight and small. And we're going to go slow, and I'll show you how to do it all. Let's go to the sewing machine. The first stay stitch we're going to stay stitch is that bottom mid section. So you're just going to make sure that that's all lined up with that middle section, and that this lip right here, this little 1/8 of an inch that's sticking out, is right on that line. So if we were to lift that up, that's going to be right on that line. Come right in on that tiny portion of 1/8 of an inch right there, and take a few stitches and go back. So now that part is nice and stay stitched. It's not going anywhere. Now we're going to just come over here to the top left side if you were looking straight on at it, and just grab your piece and lay it right in that angle squarely, just like that, right on those marks. Go ahead and stitch, back stitch, so now the top left is stay stitched and the bottom is stay stitched, and now we're going to come up to the top right. Your presser foot is up and out of the way, and you're coming in and you're laying the gusset squarely right there on the marks you made, right on top of the line. Drop your needle and start sewing. Back stitch. Make sure you stay right along that edge. You see how I'm pushing that ease in a little bit too? I'm going to go a couple more stitches, and then I'm just going to survey what's ahead. So when you get to this point, you can kind of lift this up a little bit to see what is ahead. You can see there that that is going to go in there pretty easily. I can tell that that's just by the slack and what's left. So what I'm going to do is take my tweezers and pull this out toward the line and push my needle nose down so I can, you know, anchor that so I can get to that point and just keep sewing. When you get to the corner, stop, lift, grab the gusset, and again, you're going to pull it out to that corner. I'm going to grab this part of the gusset and kind of push it back away. You can kind of smush this down and outward too to help you. Now you're going to want to stop about this point right here, just about 3/4 of the way through that curve. See how much slack you have left here. Now if I lift this up, I can kind of tell what I have left, and you know what? It doesn't look like I have to ease too much. I can see a little bit of lift here, right in here. So I will ease a little bit to get to the stay stitches that I initially made. Check where that line is again and lay that down with your tweezers and your fingers. And just continue going along slowly. When you get up to the stay stitches, you're going to stitch right through them. Oh, wait. What did I do here? Am I out of bobbin thread? Are you kidding me? So, of course, you know I just ran out of bobbin thread. So, yeah, right there, right when I was going to stitch over those. So, I turned my camera off and refilled my bobbin. And now let's continue. The first thing I'm going to do is just anchor that so that's in there good. Get my thread out of the way and then lay that right down on the line, that little 1/8 hangover. I'm going to kind of pinch this and then pull this out toward the corner area, right on that line. Kind of maneuver that gusset around. Lay that right down where I want it and pin it down with those needle nose. Pull this out. Get a visual on your line and then continue. Let's do an ease check here, like how much I have left to go in. So if I were to push that like that, you can see there that there's a gap, but no worries. This will work. We are going to ease this entire piece in because we don't want it to go extend past the mark that we made. If we do, then, you know, we're gonna have a crooked pocket and nobody wants a crooked pocket, right? So we're gonna ease this little bit of gap here. It's gonna work, trust me. So I'm going to lift my presser foot and I'm going to start pushing right now as much as I can. Be mindful of your line though too that you're trying to stay on top of. Go slow, stop, lift, and ease. Make sure you're always doing a line check too. And then when you get to the end there, you're going to back stitch and clip your threads. Okay, let's check out our work. Look at that three-dimensional just pop up out of there. I mean, it really is cool, right? And then you can see inside. Now what you're going to do is just give this a good hot press, pleating these kind of. You're just going to push the center in there. It'll kind of go that way anyways. And just give that a little press right in there on that side. And then you're going to do the same on this side. And then that stays popped out. Oh, so cute, right? If you haven't done so already, go ahead and crease this over about 3/8 of an inch or so. For this part, all you're simply going to do is line it up center on this pocket, which means for me, these edges are right with or just over the sides of the edges. And we're going to just butt that up right against there, like so. And this part right here should be about 1/8 of an inch away from, you know, there's a little gap there because that's what it'll end up being, is about 1/8. But I butt up these sides so that they are there. Here's the thing you want to watch out for on this particular placement. You want to make sure that when you close this thing, that this is going to match that, right? So if we pin those down with the pleats in there, and this was sewn down, you know, it's going to land about right there. So let's see where that ends up. Let me push those. It's so hard to see, right? That's sort of how I do it. I don't know. So I just take these, make sure it's open, and line it up. So once you've checked that that is indeed in alignment with that snap, then what you're going to do is come in and clip that side and clip this side. And make sure again that, you know, that it's even with these sides, which it is. Go ahead and clip the top too, just to hold that in place. Next, we're going to take this to the sewing machine and we're going to sew that flap down about 1/8 in from this edge right here all the way across and back stitch. And then we're going to do a double stitch. We're going to come about 1/4 inch or so away, and we're going to do 1/4 inch or maybe even a 3/8. There's a little wiggle room within this part as far as, you know, the snap hitting, you know, dead on. You want it to hit dead on. So for mine, I think 3/8 of an inch is pretty good. I'll do 1/8 of an inch here along the edge, and then I'll probably come up about 3/8 and do a second stitch there. So let's see what that looks like. And you will need to push this back and out of the way because you don't want to get that all hemmed up in there. Back stitch. When you get to the end here, make sure that this is out of the way here, the pocket. Now we're going to go in and do that second stitch. I'm going to come right at my crease that I made earlier. That was about 3/8 of an inch. Okay, let's take a look. So we have our pocket right there. We have our 2 lines of stitching on the flap. So let's try and close it. Okay. Oh my word, how cute is this bag gonna be? Oh my goodness. Okay. So that is our darling front cargo pocket. Oh my goodness. Okay, on to the next step. Next, we're going to put the bottom back zipper in. What you need to know about zippers, first off, is if you're using these nylon type zippers, a lot of times they're wrinkly or have waves in them. What you're going to do is come along with your iron and you're just going to press right along there, giving that a really nice flattened look. Because if you put a wavy zipper in, 9 times out of 10, you're going to have a wavy zipper. So it makes sense. So yeah, you just want to iron along there and make that nice. So you're going to grab your AB back piece and your 2 pieces for the bottom back zipper pocket. Set the one with the interfacing aside and grab the one that has the box on the back. Turn this way so you can see. If you haven't done so yet, we need to find the center bottom of this piece. So I'm simply just going to fold it in half and then just snip a real tiny piece out there. And so there's a little nick in there, and that tells me that that is indeed the center, middle, bottom. I need to make a mark actually on the center back here. So I'm going to just crease that like that, and then I'm going to mark it real quick while I see that crease so I can match the top of that pocket up. And then I'm going to take this piece, fold it in half, and mark the center here. A center mark right here. Now you're going to take the right side and put it right sides together with the bottom here. And then find my notch up here, and where I marked in the center here, which is right here, I didn't go that far with it. I'm going to match that notch up with that mark. Now I'm going to pin right here and right underneath the box, and then on the sides of the box. Now you're going to bring it over to your sewing machine and you're going to sew directly on that red line and all around the rectangle, just on the outside of the box. Very important though, you don't want to go past where the end is and try to back stitch and get back where you were. You want to stop pretty much directly right on that corner. And you see I shortened my stitch length just by a half there so I could make it up to that corner and not have to backtrack. Pivot and come up the side. Pivot. going to shorten again, and there we go. And go back to what I was at. It was at 2. Pivot. And now you're going to keep sewing right past where you started. And that ought to do it. And break thread. Take out your pins. Go ahead and fold this, but make sure that it is even, because you don't want to mess up at this point. Because we are going to snip into this line right here. So I'm going to snip on that center red line, just a little nip. Open it back up, and then I'm going to just cut right on this center line until I get to that point down here. And then I'm going to turn. I'm going to snip. I'm going to switch snips though, because these nips are better for the corners. Once I get to a corner here, I'm going to snip at an angle right up to where those threads are. I'm not going to snip into the threads. I'm going to snip as close as I can get to the threads. And then I'm going to do that on this side as well. Come over here, and then you're going to snip down the center line on this side till you get to that point here. And then you're going to turn. Come this way and snip right up to the threads. So it should look like this. Take your iron and press up that way and press that way, and then give it a press toward that opening on the sides. Once you do that, you're going to shove this in and then flip it over here, and let's take a look. And we're going to pull all this through. And then we're going to start rolling that seam out and press that rolled seam. Make sure that the seam is rolled out here as well. Flip it over. And you just flatten these out, and if you find that you are having too much of a pucker in there, go back in and see if you can't clip even just a tiny, tiny bit more. And if you do that, you know what? It's probably going to lay a lot flatter. So I'm just going to take just an ever so tiny snip there. And that should make that area lay a lot better. So next, what you're going to do is grab your double-sided tape, and you're going to put it along the edge about 5 inches or so on your zipper tape, because we're not going to use all of the zipper. I need to order some 1/8 inch tape because I think that's going to work a lot better for making this bag, so I'll link both down below. So just peel this back, and this exposes the double-sidedness of this tape. Now, I'm laying it this way because I am right-handed, so when this bag is on someone who's right-handed, it'll be like, you know, easier to open. So I'm just going to take this with this all flat right here, and I'm going to lay this right over top of that double-sided tape. Try to make it as even as I can, and then squeeze these together and just press that down. Make sure that your lining is out of the way in the back, that it's not going to get caught here, and then we're going to do a top stitch right around this rectangle. Get close to the edge right here of where we folded that, because we're going to want to catch the zipper tape within that stitch. I am going to back stitch and then continue on. When you get to the corner, you're going to pivot. I think I need to go one more stitch before I pivot. Make sure that the zipper tapes are close together there at the end. So you can see here, I have a little build up here on the corners. For whatever reason, every time I would get close to the corners, it wanted to skip a stitch on the corner. So I did not like that, so I had to back up and restitch that area. So that's what's going on there. But otherwise, you know, pretty decent. Just keep it steady and smaller stitches all the way around. Probably if I would have used blue thread, it probably would have blended, but I didn't, so it doesn't. Here we definitely have a working zip. Next, you're going to come over here and just snip these off just past this area right here. So just past the edge of where your pocket ends. Then you're going to take your fusible bottom pocket piece and you're going to lay it right side, right on top here, just like so. Now you're only going to clip the pocket. Do not clip this with the pocket. We're not sewing this onto the pocket. We are going to sew the two pocket pieces together. This area might be tight up here, but you can do it. Just clip those two together. Next, we're going to take it to the sewing machine and we're only going to stitch the pocket piece to the other pocket piece. We're not going to get the back exterior involved at all. If you want, you can start back here. Maybe we can do it from this end. Be a lot easier to see. So you're going to come in about 3/8 of an inch, about 3/8 inch in as well. We're going to back stitch. I know these clips are upside down. When you get about 3/8 away, you're going to stop and pivot. And then you're out of 3/8 here because remember our tape indicates that. You might be asking yourself, why does Tracy have a round pocket right here at the bottoms? Well, let me tell you, it's because Di over at Sister Chick's Quilting, she said, Tracy, you have to do rounded corners in your pocket because I hate when change falls down in a corner pocket and I can't reach it. So you have to do rounded corners. So thanks to Di, this purse has rounded corners. Get get up to the corner there, go ahead and backstitch. And our pocket is all stitched and it is in the back. Pretty cool, right? Now you're going to do the same thing with the top zip pocket. So just remember what you did here, but instead of lining it up on the bottom, you're going to line it up from the top and make sure that it's even with this pocket right here. The only difference with this pocket, it's very, very, very important. You need to leave the bottom of this pocket open from about, you know, here where it starts to round over to here where it starts to round. Because this is where we're going to turn our entire purse through, is through this pocket. So you want to finish it off just like we did this one, but leave that bottom corner all open. Do not sew, but make sure you backstitch here and backstitch there. Real quick, I wanted to let you know on that back pocket as I was inserting it, I almost forgot to tell you all that once you leave that opening, you know, open right there in that back top zipper pocket, be sure to do a pre-crease along the edge here about 3/8 of an inch. That will help us when we go to sew the inside of the pocket shut for good. It's going to be nice and easy to put these together and sew that. So that was just a little side note for you. So if you followed all the instructions on how you did the other zipper pockets to this slit pocket, you'll be at this step right here. Everything is pressed out, everything's snipped. You've cut along that straight line and the V shape, and then you've pushed it inside and you've pressed, and this is where you're at, this point right here. Everything is laying nice and flat. I find it's best to do this right on your ironing station. So the first thing I'm going to do is lift up the front piece only, right here. And then I'm going to pull it this way so that that exposes. I'm going to pinch that right there and make sure that that is right on the seam from inside. I'll show you here in a second what that looks like. So let me just clip this real quick so I can show you. So that is the top area, and you can see right there that seam, that is what's going to be pushed out, and that's going to tell us how much that this part, the polka dot, will be showing. So let's flip it back. So once you get that all nice and flat, you're going to come over here to the sides. Let me turn it over so you can see. Once you get that piece sticking out, this piece is over top of that. This is now the edge that it's going to sit. So this part over here, you see how that pinches like that? You're going to go with the fold from here. What I want you to do is just clip those two together, just like that. And then you're going to come over here and you're going to clip this side. Follow that fold. Hopefully you can see. Let me go here. So I'm following that fold all the way across. Straighten it up here on the sides and clip. Just like that. That is the top part of the slit pocket. Now let's flip it back around. Let me get this one out of there. So that's laying nice, just like that. Now what you're going to do is grab the outsides again of AB, and this time you're going to press down. You see that? First, what I should have done is just, let me give this top one just a quick press, and you should too when you get to that point. So this is exposed, the polka dot, and just give it a little push, and you'll be right at the lip of that crease or that seam allowance right there. So when you get these two pieces right here meeting up, you're going to press them. Flip this over. And then what you're going to do is grab that pleat and clip them both together. Make sure that pleat is together and then clip those pleats together. You want to make sure though that these are butting up right next to each other, the end to end. So if you pulled too much, just readjust like I just did. I think I pulled a little too much. So I'm going to make that a little bit more tight along that seam allowance. Once I think I have it, I'm going to flip it and then take a look. Make sure that your pocket though is laying nice and flat on your ironing station. Give everything a nice press if you're happy with it. Once you have it the way you want it, you're going to take it to the sewing machine and we're going to try stitching in the ditch right along there. All that is just going right in between where those two fabrics are at. This is what the back looks like. You've got some space there and you've got your slit there. Now you want to stitch in the ditch and top stitch all that before we attach the back on. I'm going to start right here in the top, but not on the corner. Find that ditch area. We're not going to back stitch right here because I'm going to go around the box and come around and I'm going to sew right over top of those first stitches I made because I don't want it to look noticeable, too noticeable anyways. Just go nice and slow, stitching in the ditch. It's kind of hard to stitch in the ditch. I was never that great at it. Pivot when you get to the corner, and you can also unclip if you feel safe. I'm just going to unclip that real quick and hold this down with my finger. Make sure everything's nice and flat. When you come up to the end, you're just going to sew over those stitches that you made when you started. And then break thread. I want you to notice here that I puckered a little bit because I don't think I pulled that right. I didn't pull this right here straight enough. So yeah, it kind of gave me just a little bit of pucker, but I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to continue on. So this is what the back looks like. There's the opening with that slit pocket. And here's the front. Nice, nice. Oh, how much fun is this bag, right? So you're going to flip it over so that it is just like this. Then you're going to take the fused interfaced slit pocket piece and you're going to first line it up with the bottom piece. And then we're going to come along up the sides and clip those. Now for this top piece, you're going to see that this is longer than this piece, and that's okay. It is what it is. It's how I made the pattern. I don't know. I could have made that other piece longer, I guess, but I didn't. So anyways, take your clip, turn it around. You may want to take your big clip and clip only the pocket, not the front area at all. So then when we take it to our sewing machine, we're going to flip it like this and up and out. You can even take this piece right here and clip that just like that out of the way as you sew. Now you may want to start with this top piece because this is such a tight piece. So I'm probably going to start right here, right before the pleat, back stitch, go up, around at a 3/8 inch all the way around. So unclip that, come in at a 3/8. Now, since this is not the same length, sorry about that, go ahead and lift up and pivot, being sure to keep this front out of the way. Grab your tweezers if that'll help. Pull this like so, and you can see here, you can maybe cut that off too if you want, but I'm going to be following along this line as far as the 3/8 goes. So you're going to stitch right along there. You don't have to be too straight on this one because this is all going to be hidden. So just FYI. That's the way I think sometimes too. If you know, if it's going to be hidden, you know, might not be that big of a deal. Pivot. We'll go one more stitch. So here's our slit pocket right here, and here's my phone case because, you know, I'm filming with my phone. But when you're out and about, check this out. I mean, this is perfect. In and out quick. I don't want any closures on my phone slit pocket. The slit pocket for the phone is the real reason why I came up with this on-the-go cargo bag anyways, because I need a spot just for that, in and out quick, because I'm constantly in and out like we all are, right? So this is the back. Everything's all sewn up. Now it's time to grab your D-rings. We're going to stay stitch those onto the front here real quick. Here I've made a 1/2 inch box here on the corners. So I just laid my ruler down. You want to draw the bottom part of the box and the side of the box. And you want to do the same thing over here, a 1/2 inch. Remember earlier we chose which side we wanted to be shown from the front. So if I sew it on with that good side that I want facing down toward the bag, the front of the bag, I'm going to lift that through and up, and that's going to be on the outside then. To line this up, find your line right there, line up right next to the line, just like that, and then you want to pull down. You see where we made that 1/2 inch mark right there? You want your ring to set right underneath that part. So let's see, this looks like it's caught or something. So my ring is right underneath that mark. So if I were to press my nail right here, I have that 1/2 inch right there, actually down a little bit more. So my nail's right there, and that's right there. It's just clearing that 1/2 inch mark right there. And then you're going to pop a clip. Just like that. Lay this down right next to that line. And now you're going to find where that ring is right there, that part of the ring where you can clear it. You want that to sit right with that line all the way across. I just eyeball this straight part of it and hopefully it works out. Right along the edge, I'm not going in far on this seam allowance, just at the very edge, just to get it on there. So I stay stitch these down just along the edge. Now you can see when I pull this like this, when we do our 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, most of that will be tucked away and in there. So that's how that's going to look. We can take some of this off. I would go down I would leave about 1/4 of an inch hanging off for now. So this is Tracy from the future coming at you. Make sure that you open up that top back zipper. That is how we are going to turn our bag right side out. And I forgot to do that during this tutorial. So yeah. Next, you're going to take the back piece that's all finished and you're going to lay that right down, right sides together. Match middle notches together. So I'm going to match the top and then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to match the bottom. I'm going to kind of squish that cargo pocket down as I do that. You see that part right there? Remember, that's where we're going to turn our bag at. So make sure that that was not sewn. And I pre-pressed it ahead of time so it's a lot easier to sew. So smash this down and get all of the sides with your clips. Oh my goodness, my floor keeps squeaking. What in the world? This pocket, the slit pocket, is not going to clear this down here. We're going to just clip this up and out of the way because I don't want to get that mixed up in here. Let's take a look over here. This part we can, get in the seam allowance. That's okay. That's going to anchor that pocket down. That's going to anchor the top. Now all that's left is to take it to the sewing machine and sew a 3/8 inch seam allowance all the way around, being sure to back stitch. The important thing about this stitch that we're about to do is it needs to be even. Now if it's not even, it's going to show that it's uneven on the end result bag, so just be careful. So I'm actually going to start at, let's see, it would be the top, one of the top sides here. And I'm going to come in at that 3/8 right there. And I'm doing about a 2 millimeter stitch length. Take your time because the end result will depend on how well you sew this part right here. You can kind of nudge that, D-ring out of the way if it's in your way. And that's too far over yet. I'm going to take another stitch and check. One more. I want it to be able to be right next to that blue tape. Okay, make sure you mash everything down together and just go slow over top of this. Oh, jeez, I just cut my threads. I didn't want to do that. Okay, back down. You want to go over this nice and slow that you catch all of that tab in there. We can go back over it in a minute after we're done too, if we, and double stitch it if we want. Because I don't want to stop right now. I just want to continue along and get all of this seam allowance in there. I mean, this zipper foot is awesome from Juki. Oh my goodness, it's really done me well in this project. I put my clips upside down again. I thought I was going to come from the other side. So I guess it doesn't really matter, which side you come from. Just squish down this area here, so that that cargo bag, or pocket rather, inside is nice and squished so that you're getting all the edges together. Unclip that. And everything is sewn in there. Now you're going to come over here to that spot that you opened up. Now I know this is probably going to be a headache for some of you, but I want you to turn it right side out just to make sure that you have indeed an even stitch around the entire bag, because if you don't, you can always, you know, turn it back wrong side and redo the stitch before you trim your seam allowances down to 1/4 inch. So I want you to wait to trim those. I know, but just trust me, because on one of my bags, I didn't stitch it properly. So, oh dear, I almost forgot. We needed to open the, oh my goodness, we needed to open this. I forgot to tell you guys, and I forgot to do it myself. Okay, so we need to figure out how we are going to get that zip open. Oi. Okay, 5 minutes later, I did it. Yes, indeed, friends. I feel like a hero now. Okay, so turn this all right side out, and let's check the seams before we trim our seam allowances. Try not to, you know, push too much. You don't want to hurt your bag, but you also want to get it through. That's why we double stitch, you know, at the ends of that pocket opening. Now these aren't going to be smooth when you first check it because we haven't trimmed any of the seam allowance. This is just to make sure that we have an even sew. So stick your hand in all of the pockets real quick too. Make sure everything is nice and out of the way. This one, of course, will still be open because we haven't closed it yet. And then this one, make sure that that's nice and flat in there. And just eyeball it really. If it looks messed up, then you need to, you know. So I'm just looking around. This is not, you know, perfect just yet because of that bulky seam allowance in there. I'm just checking, making sure. Now this one looks a little funny, but let's see. Stick my finger in there. I don't know why, but that doesn't look smooth. So I can see right away here that I do not like the way that I sewed that right there. It looks too flat compared to that one. You see how that one's more rounded? Because everything else looks really good. So I'm going to go in and fix that curve because I don't like that. And we have enough space on both sides, so I think we're good. And after I fix that, then I'm going to trim the seam allowances down. So let's get it wrong side out again. So this is the corner right here that I just re-sewed, and here's the bag. You know, it's all wrinkled because of, you know, what I just did to it. Now I'm going to make sure that, you know, this is away here so I don't catch anything in the cut. And then I'm going to trim this down to 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now this is 3/8 of an inch right in here, so I can cut off some of that. I know some people leave those, but I'm just going to trim off just a bit more of those, just so that, you know. Okay, now we are going to go back in through here, and my zipper is open. Yes, okay. I'm going to grab the bulk of this down here and try to get this to come up, starting with the corner. This is probably the hardest part in the whole project. You can take your tweezers if you want and kind of dig that corner out. You know, best that you can anyways. Next, we're going to go around with our iron, press really good, and then we're going to come in here and fix this pocket because it's still, you know, open. We're going to make sure that we roll this seam out really super good because we want that to be nice and flat. Yeah, I like that corner way better. I'm so glad I fixed it. I'm going to pull out the back top pocket. It's a little wrinkled, but it's okay. So I'm going to fold in those pressed creases that I made earlier, and I'm just going to clip them real quick. And I'm going to sew right to the edge here. do the best you can. I know it's hard to sew a round pocket like this, but you know, do your best. Nobody's going to see it anyways. You'd be all right. Shove that pocket back in. So you can see there that that's all top stitched down from the inside. That's not going anywhere. Now, if you want, you can go in with thread and needle and take this piece on this side and just tack that down right there so that that kind of stays for you. I mean, I don't find that I need it, but you know, if you do, go ahead. This is where you're going to grab your 2 hooks and your strap adjuster. You're going to take the one end to weave it up and then over that strap adjuster so that it's like that. Slide it up about 7 inches or so, and then you're going to grab one of your hooks, your swivel hooks, glide it on, and then take this piece right here and kind of push it up there like that. Okay, friends, Tracy from the future again. For whatever reason, my camera cut out right at this part right here in the last segment. So let me just continue creating this one little part for you. So you have pulled this piece and looped it up that way. This piece here, the end, this end with the swivel hook on it, you're going to pop it inside here like so. And then in this loop area, you're going to turn it and push it down the other way toward the swivel hook now. Like that. Pull that. So what you want to do is take this piece right here, fold it under, and connect it to there. And then you're going to pop a clip there, and you're also going to pop a clip in this side. So this is what you should have so far. You can clip this closer if you can get it closer too. Let me see if I can get it a little bit closer. Now you're going to follow along on the top of your strap so that you don't get things twisted. And you're going to slip your other swivel hook right on the end there. And then you're going to fold this in and pop some clips. And then just make sure before you take it to the sewing machine that you run across here and make sure that you have all of those edges that we're sewing under are on the wrong side of the bag. Next, what I'm going to do is take this to the sewing machine. I'm going to sew across this area here, and I'm also going to sew across this area right here. You do want to pop some back stitches in there for sure. I'm going to do a row of 2 stitches. And they're good. If you've made it all the way to the end of this video, way to go. You're a true blue sewing channel follower. So I just wanted to share with you some up close and personal, film footage of this purse. In here, I've put my phone case because I'm recording right now, so it's not in here. But it's just perfect for when you're on the go and you really are at the store and you get a phone call. You don't have to, go searching. You always know it's going to be right there. So for me, this is the hidden star of the show. The real star of the show is this right here, the 3D cargo pocket, in my opinion. Hopefully you can see. So there is the inside of this cargo pocket. It is nice and deep and wide, so you can shove whatever you want in there, really. I mean, this bag has so much room in it. The back features those 2 zipper pockets. Nice size zipper pockets. And then of course you do have your strap adjuster here so that you can, you know, strap adjust, right? This honestly is the best designed bag I've ever had. I always look for these certain features in a bag, but you know, they're just not out there. So when you can't find what you want, you design it yourself. And that is the on-the-go cargo bag. Until next time on the Sewing Channel, take care.